Hey everybody, doing the video response for understanding myself, my athletes, students, and clients video. And so, first question is, how does my personality promote my self-confidence? So I am extroverted. I am a good conversator. I relate well with others. I'm energetic. I can change a mood of a room. I make people feel welcome, and I genuinely care for people, and I think people feel that. I am somewhat relaxed and secure, and I'm pretty narrow-minded, which came as a surprise to me in my personality test, because I think I want to be something that is not realistically happening. But I also think that also puts off a pretty confident vibe, and my rationale for that is I'm confident in what I'm doing, and so it takes a lot for me to make a change because I have to see it and feel it and experience it before I'd ever implement it. And I think that can be I would put off a confident vibe to others that I'm leading as well. Two, how does my personality detour from my self-confidence? So everybody has insecurities, and I know that. While I would say I'm confident, there are some traits that detour my self-confidence. It takes a while for me to trust. I don't know why. So my openness is on the lower spectrum of things. And this can be a limitation and come off as an insecurity, because I truly believe that in order to trust, you have to have an inner confidence that says it's going to be okay. If someone wrongs you or hurts you or doesn't support you, you can stand on your own 2 feet. So I would say that detours my self-confidence. And I also would say that I'm not as quick as I could be to forgive. And that's just because I feel deeply. I'm pretty sensitive. And so it takes a while for me to offer grace. And just my rationale behind this is it takes someone being pretty emotionally stable, despite adversity, to have that true inner confidence. So next question is, identify several reasons why understanding my athletes would be useful to me as a coach. And so understanding the personality of my athletes would save me a lot of time. As a coach, we want to know a person's hierarchy of values and understand how they perceive the world, in order to effectively reach them and teach them. And student athletes that feel understood and cared for are going to thrive under your care. And so if I were to use this personality test with my student athletes, for example, and knowing this information, forcing somebody that's not extroverted into a drill that requires them to be in front of everybody, maybe let's just use an example of on the first day, that probably wouldn't sit very well, or asking them to talk without them choosing to, it just wouldn't sit very well long term. Deep down inside, they're going to feel very uncomfortable and might inhibit them from learning. If I did the personality test, I would probably lean towards using someone that is more outgoing and that's more natural to them to maybe demonstrate a drill or be someone that I'm using in an example, because they're more naturally comfortable and would thrive in that arena. So that's one example. Another would be knowing an athlete is narrow-minded versus open-minded. I get this a lot because you're essentially, there's this invisible friction between you and the athlete, and it all has to do with their personality and how they're wired. So knowing their narrow-mindedness would be very helpful. because instead of starting from scratch, I would start from what they already know and a skill and work from there little by little. My son is actually this way, so this is actually very helpful in parenting. I think it's also very valuable for student athletes to know themselves. So doing a personality test, just like me today, learning about myself after 30 plus years, there's some things that I discovered that I never really knew was a reality. So I think that them knowing it and working with them to be comfortable in their own skin, but yet making small changes in behaviors would be something that would be valuable to the student athlete. So, number 4, what components of my personality do I find relatively stable traits? I am a good communicator. I have strong conscientiousness. I am a diligent planner. I consider all things. I'm careful. I'm reliable. I'm organized. I'm self-disciplined. What components of my personality do I find that do I find change to the particular circumstance? So I'm somewhat neurotic. While I'm on the lower end of the spectrum, I would say that there's a few flare-ups, and they tend to come from an imbalance of emotion. Sleeplessness causes irritability or inconsistency in my moods. I also feel when I'm feeling stressed or insecure, I'm less calm and stable. Overall, I'm pretty good, but there are flare-ups. That's why it says I'm somewhat calm and on the lower end of the neurotic side. So overall, though, I'm solid in this area. I just need to be more consistent. And then it goes into talking about Philippians 4:13. A verse that's thrown around a lot. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And the question is if we rely on God for all things in our life, will we be able to push forward in the direction that we are called because He is in charge instead of us? The confidence is not in ourselves, but in God who created us and loves us. And when we then experience freedom and peace because we realize that we are not responsible for the results, only the process of trusting God in all things. So the question is, what are my thoughts when I consider that God gives me strength to do all things? You know, like I said before, this verse gets used a lot, and I've used it a lot. But I think in context, it's exactly what it's talking about. It's talking about Christ getting us through and us giving up the wheel to Him and just focusing on trusting Him. And, there's a saying that adversity reveals character. So I think that it's just important to really practice trust and know that in our weakness, God is made strong. That's verse 2 that I cling on to. So in my insecure moments or the parts of my personality that's tough or that's hard to take, I guess, that I want to change so badly, but still it's just how I'm wired and I do have weaknesses. That's where God gets to work, and that's where people probably see Him most, especially when I became a Christian. That's probably where He was seen most because, that's where I was most fleshy and reliant on self. So for me, just giving up the wheel and being open-minded and knowing that it's okay to take risk and just trusting is a huge thing. Blindly trusting. Number 7, do I agree that having confidence in not myself will actually give me more freedom and peace? Yes, absolutely. We control freaks, myself. I would put myself in that arena. It can be debilitating. It's not easy being a person that doesn't trust easy. It's actually freeing to just focus on trust than trying to control everything. And not blindly trusting. I'm trusting the creator of the universe, the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, and if I'm seeking His will, it's that simple. So just making sure that it's, focusing on God's will helps me, and watching Him play things out, because it always works out best when we do. So yeah, marathon post here, but this was a good one. Made me think. I learned a lot. Thanks.